Hello, today's Mishna, Brura, chapter 89, number 8 to 90, number 3. Bisha'at at the time, had chak of pressure. Kagon, for example, shetzarich lahashkim laderech. He needs to get up early to the road for travel. Yachol litpalel mi she'ala amud hashachar. He is able to pray once dawn has broken. V'yamtin milikrot kriyat shema. But he should wait to say the Shema ad sheyagia zmana, until will arrive its time. And the Ramo adds, im efshar lo, if it is possible for him, likrot kriyat shema al haderech, to say the Shema on the road. Dahainu, which is sheyitkavein, that he will focus, but pasuk rishon on the first verse. As we saw above, chapter 58. The Mechaber continues, even though that he does not attach, support them to one another, somech geula, redemption, litfilah, to prayer. So the idea is that you should say Shema, then you should say Ga'al Yisrael, and then you should say the Amidah. Even though that's the order it should be, in this way he's not doing it. Hachi adif, this is better. Tfei, more, this is better. She'it palel beveito me'umad, that he should pray in his home standing. Mima, rather than she'it palel bizmana, that he should pray in the right time, v'hu mahalech, and he is walking, v'yismoch geula l'tfilah, and then he will be attaching the Shema with the bracha to the Amidah. So even though the ideal is that you should be priority number one, your first prize, you're at home, you're doing your regular, or at shul even better, you're doing your regular davening, Amidah, the Shema, bracha after the Shema, Amidah, wonderful. If you're going to have to go out super early, then you've got a choice. Either you daven early at home, just the Amidah by itself, and then the Shema and the whatever else by itself later on, and you don't have this connection between them, or that you'll be doing the Amidah on the journey. That's even less ideal. Let's see the Mishna Brura on that. So the Mishna Brura says, Shetzarich, that you'll need, and literally the caravan, in other words, we'd say the aeroplane, the caravan will not mamtenet, wait for him, or shar d'chakvoines, or other pressure and factors beyond his control. Yacholi palel, he is able to pray. Parish, this means the vistam derech and yachol chavein betfilah, on a stam, regular, unqualified journey, he's not able to focus on his prayer. Bain kishu malech baraglav, whether he's walking on his legs, whether he's walking, or yoshev bagala, or sitting in a wagon, or besfina, or in a boat. And therefore the sages said, Shetov yoter, it is better, sheyit palel misha'alam urashachar, you should pray once dawn is broken, even though it is not yet the primary time for prayer. And also you cannot attach the blessing of redemption to the Amidah, because you are not able to say then the Kriyat Shema. The Adayin, that still lo higia, has not arrived, Zmana, it's time, Aji yakirat chavero berchok arbamot, until he recognizes his friend at a distance of 4 amot. Mikol makom, nevertheless, zehu tov yoter, this is better, mishit palel b'derech bizmano, that he should pray on the road in the right time, im smichat geula l'tfilah, with attaching the blessing of redemption to prayer, kivavetu yichal palel b'amidah, because in his home he is able to pray standing up. The time given here is Misha ala amud hashachar, once dawn is broken. I'm Be'er Halacha, B'sif Aleph. Take a look in the Be'er Halacha. That's the section of Mishnah Brura where he goes into halachic questions in a lot more depth and detail. And section 1, Shekatavnu b'shem harbe poskim, we wrote there in the name of many halachic authorities, Desfira lahu, that they hold, they take the position, lahu, them. The davka achar sheir mizrach, only after it is light in the east, that you can do this early Amidah. V'kodem lazeh, before this, Lo higia adain zman tefillah. It has not yet arrived the time for davening. Ubifrat, and particularly, when he wants then to say the blessing on tefillin, that does, even according to the lenient opinions, asur is forbidden. Even those who say, well, you know what, you can say the blessing of the Amidah early, but you still can't say the blessing on the tefillin. You can still say you can do the Amidah early, but you still can't do the blessing on tefillin early. Even after the east has illuminated, until the time that he will recognize his friend the distance of 4 amot. That's the earliest time you can say the blessing on tefillin. And if this time arrives, alma, literally to the whole world. What that means is, according to everyone, Yikra kriyat shema v'yitpalel b'veito, you should say the shema and daven in his home. Ketikuna means in the fixed way. What that means is, as it was established. Maybe that's a better translation over here. In the way that you were really supposed to. Even though it is yet not the sunrise. Kevan, since Shehu Shatar Chak, it's a time of pressure. Vimu baderech b'malon, and if he's on the road in a hotel, v'hashayara shelo, and his caravan, omim dim li'itpalel, are standing to daven, kodem ze'azman, before this time of Neitzachama, or before this time of recognizing your friend, umesha'er, and he evaluates. De'ad baruchu yagia hazman, until baruchu, the time will come. In other words, he'll get to the time by the time he'll get to the right time by the time he's reached baruchu. Yuchalhu litpalel birkat baruch she'amar gam ken imahem. He is able to begin the blessing of baruch she'amar also with them. Leit ata belot tefillin, at that time without tefillin, or sheyilbash tefillin bli bracha, or that he should wear tefillin without the blessing. And after the time will come between Yishtabach and Yotzer, Yire im higia hazman, he should see if the time has arrived. Yemash mesh, literally feel them, but it means to move them around a little bit by hand on the tefillin, vayevarech, and bless them. That's really what we do in the Cape Town here in winter, is we start davening either without tefillin or with tefillin with no bracha, and then when you get between Yishtabach and Baruchu, you will either put on your tefillin with the bracha or move the tefillin and make the bracha. Im efshar, if it is possible. So what's he saying over here? That if it's possible to say Shema on the road, then that with proper intention, then that was the suggestion. This means the im yodeh shigam kriyat shema pasuk rishon lo yuchal lachaven b'derech. If he knows that also the first verse of the kriyat shema he was not able to focus on the road. Kagon, for example, shubim kom gidudei chaya v'listim. He is in a place of bands of chaya, wild animals, v'listim, and bandits. Mutar, it is permissible likro kriyat shema b'veito, to say the shema in his home. Gam kain, also techef mishe ala amud hashachar, immediately once dawn has broken. Afal pi, even though she'adayin lo yigia ikar hazman, it has not yet reached the primary time. So even though actually you really should wait for saying the Shema, you're not going to be able to focus on it later on. So you can say it even a little bit early. Hachi adif, and this is better to pray in your home with focus, even though it's now going to be out of order. V'rov ha'olam, the majority of the world, einen nizharin bazeh, are not careful in this. Ve'efshar, it's possible. In other words, they will go and daven on the wagon, even though it's not so such a good way to concentrate. Ve'efshar, it's possible. Mishum de noagin kidach poskin, we nohagin are accustomed, or we behave ke'idach, the other poskim halachic authorities, the sfira lahu, that they hold, the mismaku little tefillah adif, that attaching the blessing of redemption to prayer is better. Al kain, therefore, mitpalelin b'derech, they will pray on the road, im smichat gula tefillah, with attaching the redemption to the prayer. Od katav. That's the Magen Avraham. Magen Avraham further wrote, Imu b'derech, if he's on the road, umitjarei, and he is afraid, sheyavor zman kriyat shema, that it will pass the time for Shema, then Yikra kriyat Shema b'li bracha. You should say the Shema without a blessing. Uchsheyavor lemalon, and when he will come to the hotel, Yikra od hapam kriyat Shema im birchotea. You should say another time the Shema with the brachot. Ve'yismoch geula letfilah, and you should attach geula to prayer. Ve'im hu ro'eh sheyavor gam zman tfilah, and if he sees that he will pass also the time of davening, shehi rak ad arba shaot, which is only until 4 hours, vada yitpalel shmona esrei gam ken b'derech. Certainly, he should pray the Amidah also on the road. Mehalech, walking, or meyushav, or sitting. Ucheshe nosea balayla, and when he travels at night, veyachol lavo b'malon litpalel sham mariv, and he can come to the hotel to pray mariv there. Nachon, it is correct, lihit acher, to delay, litpalel, to pray, ad bo sham, until he will come there. Velo yitpalel b'odo b'derech, and he should not pray whilst he is still on the road. Im lo shaya yashan al hagala, unless he was sleeping on the wagon. V'yesh lachush shema b'toch kach yale amud hashachar, and you should worry that from this he will end up being dawn, right? So the guy's dozing off, and he says, look, I'm either going to daven now, or I might doze off and not really wake up for Ma'ariv. V'ayin b'reish lamed hey b'shari tshuva, take a look, he gives the reference. Or shu yarei shem elo yeh sham makom menucha litpalel, or if he is afraid that there will not be a place of rest for him to daven, she'yaval beluhu sham b'nei habayit, that they will bilbul's, like, not quite confused, they'll make a big distraction for him, the people of the house, so then again rather daven on the way. Alright, chapter 19, Makom harawi lihitpalel, the place that is appropriate to daven, imat tzibur, with the community, v'dina holech b'derech, and the law of one who's going on the road. Number 1, hamitpalel, one who is praying, lo ya'amod al gabe mitah, should not stand on top of a bed, v'lo al gabe kiseya, not on top of a chair, v'lo al gabe safsala, not on top of a bench. The Ramah says, "Va'afilu einan gavohin gimel," even if they are not a height of 3 tfachim, which would be sort of between 21 and 30 centimeters, even if they're properly low, still don't. Velo al gabe makom gavua, not on top of a high place. Ele im kain, unless haya zakain, he was old, or chole, or sick, or if his intention was lehashmia, to make himself heard, latzibor, to the community. In those cases you can stand up, otherwise you shouldn't. Shi'ur makom gavuha, the measure of a high place, shamru, that they said, shloshat tfachim, is that 3 tfachim we spoke about, kind of 21 to 30 centimeters. Hayagvor shloshaf was 30 centimeters high, v'yesh bo 4 amot al 4 amot, and it is 4 amot by 4 amot, a little bit less than 2 meters. Harehu ke'aliyah, then it is like an aliyah, a raised area. In other words, it's not now a higher platform, it's almost a different room, it's a whole area that's raised, you're not standing on a platform. And then you're allowed to pray on it. And so too, if it was surrounded by mechitzot, separations, barriers. Even if it's less than 4 by 4, you're allowed to pray on it. So it's some kind of box. That its height is not nikar, recognizable. You won't easily see that that's the height. Kevan shechalak reshut, since the area is separate. Number 3, ha'umnin she'osin malacha leval habayit. Craftsmen, artisans who are doing work for the balabait, yecholin litpalel barosh hazayit, are able to pray at the top of the olive tree, uvarosh hata'ena, and the top of the fig tree. So these are guys who are picking olives or figs or whatever. They stand at the top. Time comes for davening, they can daven from there. And there is not in this mishum, because of, in other words, it does not have the factor of lo yamod al magam gavo v'yitpalel. You should not stand in a high place and daven. Dekeivan, since she'alu la'asot melachtam, they went up to do their work. Have kamo she'ala l'aliyah. It is as if they went up to a higher room, higher area. Uveshari lanot, but with other trees, tzichim leireid, you would need to descend. So it's only the olive and the fig trees. The reason that nishtana, different, the olive and the fig from other trees, mibnei, because sheyesh lehem anafim harbei, they have many branches. Yoter, more mishar lanot than other trees. Veyesh torach gadol be'aleitam v'ridatam, and there is great bother in getting up and going down. Veyit batlu mimalachtam, and they will be idle from their work. They'll be forced to stop working. Ulefichach amru, and therefore the sages said, sheyit palelu sham, they should rather pray there. So the idea is their employer has paid for their labor and for their time. Yes, they have the right to daven, and you can't take that away from them, but they can't now spend a half an hour getting down and a half an hour getting back up again, just in order they can daven. That would be unfair to the employer, so therefore the sages said they can pray from the top of the tree. Aval shari lanot deleka bitul, but other trees where there is not, it's an Aramaic word, bitul, idleness, yerdu, they should go down. Uvalabayit, and the master, afilu merosh hazayit v'ataina, even from the top of the olive and fig, tzarich l'areli palel, he needs to go down and daven. In other words, he's the employer. Daha'enu meshubad limlacha, he is not bonded for work. He doesn't owe anybody, he hasn't sold his time. Shubi reshut atzmo, he is in the reshut, the domain, atzmo, of himself. He is in his own domain. Ve'im heikelu, and if they would be lenient, etzel poalim mibnei bitul melacha, if they were lenient when it came to workers, because of negating, making idle their work, lo heikelu etzel Baal HaBayit. They were not lenient when it came to the Baal HaBayit. Now we continue in the Mishnah Brura. Ve'afilu, even if. Mibnei keshu omei, even if the Ramah said, even if these raised platforms are less than 3 tfachim. Mibnei keshu omed aleihem, when he stands on them, hu tarud, he is bothered. Vayarei shema yipol, and he is afraid perhaps he will fall. V'lo yichal lechaven betfilato, and he is not able to focus on his prayer. Ulefize, according to this, mi shehitiru b'samuch b'zaken v'choleh, this that they permitted close by with the old man or the sick person, av da'in bo mishum gavhut, even though there is not here because of height. Mikol makom ye'esar la'amod mechamat be'atuta. So when gavhut, I think what they mean is really arrogance, but still you should be afraid. We still generally would prohibit it because of ba'atuta, which is, I think again, fear, confusion. So when it comes to these 2 factors over here, the one is when you're in a high place, you may feel arrogant and you can't speak to Hashem from there. And the other one is that you might fall off, so you'll be distracted. So when it comes to an older, a sick person, yes, we are worried that, we're not worried that they'll be haughty because they know that they're only praying here because they're not strong enough to do so elsewhere. But still, we should worry about fear. Tzarich lomar, you need to say, hatam, the reason, de lo hitrichuhu chachamim, the sages did not make them bother, put them to the effort. V'hitiruhu, and they permitted him litpalel aleim b'mashi yitav lo, to pray over them in what is good, what will be good for him. B'yeshiva or b'amida, sitting or standing, or yesh lomar. Okay, so since they, yes, it's a concern that they would fall, but look, they're sick. I mean, just give the person a break. Or yesh lomar, or you could say, Damari sham begavnita lekabituta, that we're speaking there in cases, aspects, possibilities, that there is no concern of being afraid. Even if they know 3, v'abach, v'ataz, matirin, the bach and the taz, permit, they say, listen, if it's less than 3, it's absolutely fine. Aval Elia Rabba posek karamo, but the Elia Rabba rules like the Ramah that less than 3 is also a problem. V'lo al gabein, you can't stand on top of these other things. Lefisha and gavhut lifnei hamakom. So this is the idea that we've been mentioning. Since there is no height, no arrogance in front of Hashem. Shenemar hamakom, literally the place, the omnipresent one. Shenemar, as the verse says, Mima amakim karaticha Hashem, from the depths I have called to you, Hashem. We call to Hashem from depths, not from height. Zakai no chole, an old person or a sick person, shekashelo lered malamita. It is hard for him to descend from the bed, so therefore he can stand on his bed. Leashmiya letzibur, to make his voice heard to the community, that's going to be okay. De mutar, it is permissible for him, la'amod, to stand al gabe makom gavoa, on a high place. Va'afilu al gabe kisah safsal, even on a chair or a bench. Va'ain bazeh mishum gavut, and this does not have within it because of arrogance. V'yesh min ha'achronim, there are some of the later authorities, shekatvu, who wrote, Dehecha, that where deyesh bo mishum bituta, there is the factor of fear. Afilu le'ashmiya letzibur asur, even to make heard to the community is forbidden. Katav HaMagen Avraham, the Magen Avraham wrote, She'achshav, now, Nahagu, we have the custom, She'amakom she'shlech tzibur omed, the place where the shlech tzibur stands, alav, hu amok mishar beit HaKnesset, is deeper than the rest of the shul. Mishum mima makim karatich Hashem, because of this verse of from the depths, I have called to you, Hashem. And therefore the Shaliach Tzibur, the leader, the prayer leader in every place, is called Yoreid, one who descends Lifnei HaTeiva, before the ark. So that's the way that it was in many shuls in Europe. Today that isn't the case. In fact, the opposite. The Shliach Tzibur does go up to high, but in Europe often they would go down low. Makom Gavoa, a high place. Parish, the explanation is Afilu hu aras michta v'gavoa shloshet tfachim. Even if it is a, I think this means like a flat piece of earth, but it's 3 tfachim high. It's forbidden to stand on it and pray. But less than this, its height is not recognizable. Mukaf mechitzot, surrounded by mechitzot. Uvima chadasha, and a new bima, sheba beit hakneset, in the shul, she'adayin lo hukfa mechitzot, that is not yet surrounded by mechitzot, separators. Pashut, it is obvious. Da asor litpalel alea, that is forbidden to pray on it. Umihu, however, le'inyan shamash shemkomo la'amod sham bekviut, for the shamash, whose place is to stand there in a fixed way, letzorche beit hakneset, for the needs of the shul, nearer the mutar, it seems that it is permissible. Kamo le'inyan umnin b'siv gimel, as we saw when it came to the artisans in number 3. And that's it for today.